And we're live, I think. Hello everybody, and welcome to the next Cyber Meetup event. My name is Lauri Tankler. I am from the Estonian Information System Authority, the National Cybersecurity Center, part of this. This is the third time we're doing this. And we're going to be doing this the same way we did last couple of times. We're going to have about an hour of small talks about the threat landscape and so on and so forth. And then afterwards, we're going to have time to mingle, just to talk to each other, to talk to some of the speakers about what they were speaking about. And then just have a good time hanging out. And then afterwards, you can find some other places around Telliskivi to maybe continue your hangouts. And so on. So we have an agenda for the first hour, maybe a couple minutes after that as well. The agenda, we're going to have basically 4 items. We're going to have 2 guest speakers from Estonia, 2 Jürgens, because that's obviously a very common name among speakers in cybersecurity. So yeah, it just happened. We don't know actually why it wasn't planned like that. We have guest speakers about threat landscape because the past couple of times we've been doing this from our RIA side, and then we wanted to know what do private security operations center, what do they see? And also we want to give Jürgen from Kaitsepolitseiamet, or Estonian Internal Security Service, a chance to actually talk to you a little bit about what we're doing, what they're seeing in terms of what could be security threats against Estonia in general, and what are they seeing. And then we have some guests from further abroad, from the Czech Republic, or Czechia, or however you prefer it these days. Petr, Vasek, Lukas, Adam. I think Petr is going to be the one who's going to be speaking today, but the team is here. So if you find somebody with a name tag which has too many consonants in it, then they're probably from this team. And you can ask them questions about that later on. And at the very end, we're going to have a couple of promotional notices about a cyber camp for youth, for girls. And we're going to be inviting you to invite your friends and daughters and the daughters of your friends to attend those kinds of things. But let's get going. Threat landscape, 2 items, but just to make this a little bit of an introduction into the threat landscape thing. So us at the Estonian Information System Authority, we do cybersecurity threat landscape questions every month, every quarter, and also annually. You can find them at RIA's website. There's this cybersecurity tab, and then there's this situation in cyberspace tab, which you can just click and then find all the security notices about threat landscapes. So, for example, the monthly one is only in Estonian, but obviously Google Translate is our friend, and you can totally find it. We do a monthly overview of the threat landscape in Estonia, what we're doing in Estonia to make it better, and what are we seeing in terms of international engagement. Go to RIA's website, you can find them. For example, in April, we have the Estonian threat landscape bullet points about like service interruptions and DDoS attacks and phishing and more phishing. We have these kinds of bullet points in there, and you can check it out on RIA's website as well. But compared to what we see, we know that there are security threats everywhere else too, which may not be reported to RIA. They may be reported to somebody else who's going to help them overcome security incidents and so on. This is why I've asked our good partner Jürgen from Cybers to talk to us about what they see as a private security operations center and as somebody who works closely with RIA as well about how things look to them. So I think, yeah, come on up, Jürgen. Let's see, and about what's going to go on. What do you see?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all here. This sunny day hasn't brought out. Haven't taken the audience away, so that's a good thing. My name is Jürgen. I'm CEO of Cybers. Cybers is a cybersecurity company in Estonia. And just a few background information about us. Well, our mission is simple. So our main goal is to make sure that our customers don't get hacked or don't get any issues with cyber criminals. We started out actually in 2010, and we started reselling security technology. And we have grown from there to become a managed security service provider. But the idea today is that out there the adversary has different types of capabilities, and there are different types of groups of them. So our main goal today is to make sure that the cyber resilience level for our customers is in a good level, so they can protect themselves. And how we do this? So as you know, in cybersecurity there is no a magic bullet that takes all your problems away. So we have taken this into account, and to make sure that you are cyber security posture is on a good level, you have to do everything from compliance side till your daily monitoring. And we have built our team in such a way that our compliance team, the guys and girls who have been in the roles of CISOs and information security managers, can educate the customer what are the risks, where they should be moving, and how they can, from the governance side, make sure that they have all the rule sets in place. Then also technology plays a big part of cybersecurity. So we have professional services and engineers who can help customers out to implement new technology. Then we have Security Operations Center that does the daily monitoring 24/7 of our customers, and I will go into the threat landscape basically from their experience. And also we do penetration testing and red teaming. We have our own offensive security team, and also we have our emergency incident response where we go out and help customers in case of big breaches or ransomware attacks. But what we see, so we are quite a small team still, so we don't have that visibility what maybe RIA has or what maybe some big telcos have, but we have our own unique experience, so I would like to share that. And let's start from the blue team. So, yeah, working in cybersecurity and seeing the daily struggles of our customers, there is not anything very interesting on a daily basis. But usually what they're struggling is phishing. So phishing is still quite common. We see it on a daily basis. Then sometimes we get some small heart attacks in our company when we see that internal IT teams are using some of the tools that actually bad guys are using. So that's a common thing. And also misconfigurations on servers, on networks are also a big cause of problems. And as you probably know, if some new vulnerabilities come out that are exploitable, then we see that they are being quite quickly tested out on our customers as well. And still, end-of-life products are prevalent in some companies, so making sure that they get rid of those is still happening. And patch and vulnerability management still needs improvement. And still also a poor overview of assets is quite commonplace. And the most important one is that lack of skilled workforce is plaguing, I think, the IT industry as a whole, but also the cybersecurity business. Then what we also have seen are ransomware attacks in Estonia. This one is in Estonian, but it was our awareness campaign to highlight that these things happen and the losses are quite huge. So behind there is actually a real case, and it says in English that through this port actually you can steal millions of euros. And when we do ransomware engagements, we have our own tool set, but we do immediate actions, collect the evidence, and establish monitoring when we go out to these kind of engagements. And the main idea there is to cut the adversary access away quite quickly, and also get the malware sample, fix the vulnerabilities what we have found, and do the restoration as per customer needs. And yeah, this is the tool set that we go on site with. But I hope that none of you security professionals don't have to go through those kind of incidents, but if you do, then first and foremost thing, when it happens, contact Estonian CERT, contact the Estonian police, who has a cyber unit also there. Try to create the memory dumps, try to collect the evidence and understand what the adversary was doing, what they wanted, and also go through the activities. But we have done quite a few ransomware engagements where you have to negotiate with the attacker, because sometimes they also get a hold of your backups. But just a quick summary of those engagements. What can you expect? So you have to communicate with those adversary guys. You have to spend at least 50 to 150 emails going back and forth, usually 1 to 3 weeks for the negotiations, and 1 week minimum for you to open actually like a crypto account if you want to actually pay them something. And Bitcoin is not a favorable currency anymore. You have to use something else. And you can always get a discount if you can prove that you have the funds needed. And just one piece of advice, you always have to test their capability if you want to go down that route. But yeah, is it actually worth it? There are better security practices that you can do, and you don't have to be in this kind of situation. But now for the threat landscape part of my presentation. So here is actually one example. I have taken out the timeline, just not to give any hints, but there was actually an incident in one company, quite a big one, and the red line marks it. So the tool that we use just to measure the security posture, I'm not going to name the name, but the black line reflects what the company was, what their state was. And then the blue line is actually the industry common, best practice. But one good thing is that an incident is the best thing that can happen to a company if you want to improve the cybersecurity posture. So because after the incident, when we started working, it all went up from there. Then when we talk about Estonian companies, Estonian credential access, then there's quite a lot of them in sale in darknet markets. We have our own threat intelligence tools that can highlight where those things are being sold. So there are pretty much a lot of access that you can actually go and buy, and the prices start from 10 euros and going up from there. Then also credit card information regarding Estonian citizens and Estonian banks is quite relevant. And I think it was our first meeting in Cyber RIA Meetup, and you also, that picture is from the RIA's yearbook regarding DDoSes. And now I'm going to overlay a threat intel map on top of it, and it actually says that also in darknet, people were like calling out to make those kind of DDoS attacks against Estonian companies, and they actually like quite well correlate with the RIA statistic. But one interesting thing was that like we peaked in August, and also like the first wave peaked there, like that was calling up to make those attacks. But after that, even though the engagement or like request for doing those kind of attacks went up, we didn't see that kind of much impact anymore. So those mitigation actions that we put in place, or Estonian companies put in place, helped actually. So yeah, but we all work in the same field. So when we look at like where we are like geographically situated, then actually our work doesn't get boring, I think. And there are still at least one adversary who is interested in Estonian companies and also in Baltic companies. So making sure that we protect, and also you do your best work in order to not to get our customers in that kind of situations. So I'm not going to do any advertisements, but I wanted to say thanks that we have this kind of community. So keep up the good work that everybody is doing, and if you need any help, then you can also reach out to us.
Thank you very much.
I fit into time, I think.
We have time. We have time for a question or two from the audience. Let me see. Is there a question from the audience right now? If not, then Jürgen will.
Yes.
Sorry.
Please.
Yes. Go.
Yes, hello, Kaur from Fintech, a small startup. You're talking about engaging criminals in other countries. Do you think that other countries have similar types of meetups right now when they talk about how to pay to crypto criminals in Estonia? So how much income we get as a country from this?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. They might have, but when we have went through those kind of engagements, and you see that what are the answers that you get from it, then actually behind there is also like a team, or sometimes even you feel like a community, because the people who you're engaging with, they change their temper, they change their approach. So most likely they might have, but how much money can we make off of it? I'm not going to say.
Yeah, that's classified. Yeah. Anyways, thank you very much. Jürgen will be here after the program a little bit as well. You can ask him about his experiences one-on-one later on. Thank you very much. Wait a second, I have something for you too.
Oh.
Ta-da!
Thank you, thank you.
Right, let's continue, because we have obviously a couple more Jürgens to get through. Next up, I'm going to ask Jürgen from Kaitsepolitseiamet, the Estonian Internal Security Service. Is this correct, right? To talk a little bit about the security assessment that they did and released 12th of April, like they do every year. And the security assessment always has a chapter on the cybersecurity, cyber threat landscape as well. And so I've asked him to talk to you a little bit about what it says and what should be the takeaways for, not just for us as a country, but also for you as representatives of the private sector from different companies. So Jürgen, here's.
Thank you for the introduction. As you know me, as I've been introduced, just to get to know my audience, can you just show with your hand raised everybody who knows at least something about the Russian intelligence services? Okay, good. And who of you have been in contact with the Russian intelligence services? Would you please raise your hands? Yeah. And the people who did, we're going to have a totally different conversation after the... So, my name is Jürgen Klemm. I'm with the Estonian Internal Security Service. And the message I hope to leave you guys with is that you, or your companies may have been in contact with the Russian intelligence services. And I would like to explain how we see it and how that is a possibility. So, what we do. These are traitors, these are spies. This is just a small number of them. These are some of the people that we have caught within the last 20 years or so. When we look at the cyber realm, what we do is, of course, we have RIA, we have other offices in Estonia. What we do is we try to, as we are a counterintelligence agency, we try to work against the state actors. We try to catch spies, also concerning the cyber realm. In this year's annual review, this is the booklet, you can find them all on our webpage. They're also in English. We have cyber as a topic in that. This year's annual review had this scheme in it. I'm afraid it's a bit too small for most of you to see it and understand, so I'll just try to explain this. This is just one of the methods. This is just one of the ideas, one of the schemes. This is the latest one that we have posted out to the open and to the public. This here is the Kremlin. This here is an IT worker. An IT worker who may be working in your company, who you may have been in contact with different topics. And how these two are connected, there is no direct connection. There isn't even a direct connection between the Russian special services. These are here in the middle. You can't find a direct connection, but these connections may be through the companies. For example, in the Estonian case, when we think about the war escalating in 2022 in Ukraine, and a lot of people wanted to escape Ukraine, a lot of people wanted to escape Russia. A lot of the people said that maybe we should accept the talented people, the IT specialists, because these are bright-minded people, and we could make a lot of. They would be very useful for us as a country and as an economy. There are two different kinds of patterns that we saw. This here is a company in a Western country. But this company has, or the founders have, connections with Russia or with any of the unfriendly ex-Soviet countries. These are companies made by Russian people or people from the ex-Soviet Union. They, in order to have a business in Russia, or at least an office, because Russia is a big market, everybody wants to have an office in Russia. It's a huge market, there's a lot of money. In order to have an office and a business in Russia, you need to be in line with what the Kremlin says. The Kremlin sets the rules for business, and you have to follow them. That's one thing. Another thing, in order to have a business in the cyber realm in Russia, you have to be supervised by the Russian special services. So this company is already attached with two connections to the Russian state. And if you think that it would be a good idea to hire an IT specialist to, say, Estonia from this company, you always have to bear in mind that who is this person? Why does he want to, or does he or she want to come to Estonia, for example? What are the jobs they're going to be doing here in Europe or in the West? And you have to look deeper. What is their background? They are an IT specialist. They might be brilliant in their job. They have an IT education, but they also have some military background. That's a simple clue that there might be something connected to it. Another way to see how these connections may be possible, this down here, that's a Russian company. It's pretty much the same thing. It's a Russian company in Russia, follows the rules set by the Kremlin, is supervised by the special services, they want to have somebody working in Estonia, for example, because they might have also an office in Estonia or an office in somewhere in Europe. And it's the same pattern they do use to get a single person to be hired in a company working in the West in order to, you know, how do they say this? To just set the scene, to get to know the ecosystem, and eventually, when necessary, do a move or two, or do something at least. So this is what they try to achieve. And if you ask the Ukrainians, I'm quite sure they would say that this is exactly how it went. How do we see the problem in Estonia is also that people or businesses, they tend to hire IT specialists even without meeting them, because we're in such of a need to get these talents. So somebody said that person is good, he's awesome, he's brilliant, let's hire him. But a lot of the times companies, they tend to skip the background checks. And sometimes it's more difficult, but sometimes it's very easy to see the connections, because you cannot work in Russia for defense industry or the cyber industries without having these connections. You know, this is not a society as we understand it. This society is controlled by this through this. So if you want to have a business there, if you want to have a career there, even if you are, you know, straight-minded in that sense, you always have to make compromises if you do want to have a career. So there are connections. I'm not saying that everybody who comes over the border has these connections. I'm saying there are people who have these connections, and we have seen them. And after we posted this annual review and with this scheme, we've had a lot of feedback from Europe. Other countries saying that they recognize this, or saying that after they thought about it, they started seeing the same pattern. So this is not something that is out of the blue. This is not paranoia. This is actual methods of getting these people in. And another way that the Russian secret services or the special services, they try to get in any kind of ecosystem is, for example, you have a company. They need to get something done. They don't have enough people. They're in a hurry. They need to, you know, find somebody to do a simple task. You know, find somebody on the internet. Find a smaller company. Find somebody abroad. And we have seen instances that some companies working for working with some projects connected to the cybersecurity of a company or the country. They sometimes try to push simple tasks abroad, you know, just a couple of lines of code. Why not? Maybe somebody from Russia can do it, and that's another way these people get to know what is going on, get to learn the situation, the ecosystem. So that's about it. So what I wanted to stress is the fact that sometimes we joke about ourselves that paranoia is a tool for us, but the word paranoia or the notion of paranoia is closely connected to trust. We in the Western societies, we trust each other. We build this society on trust. We like to trust. We like this ecosystem of being able to trust somebody. You don't always have to lock the doors of your car if you just pop into the store and out. We like this. And this is being taken advantage from us by the adversary. And there are more stories like these. If you write down this webpage, capo.een, you can find all of our annual reviews in English. We have more of these. And if you stumble upon any kind of information that you think might be useful for us, again, you can find the contacts on that webpage. So with this, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Applause. Again, we have time for a question or so, or maybe two. The question right there. Let's go.
Use that mic? Yeah. The background checks. they are not a very easy thing to do, like if you take into account what kind of capabilities regular IT businesses have. Do you have some extra tips that might be better?
It's at least try to do a background check. That's the minimum. What we see, what we have seen it in Estonia, and as we have discussed it with our partners, this is very, very common that there is no background checks at all. You don't go online, you don't go on Google with this name, you don't try to find these people on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Kontakte, or other those environments. So that's the minimum, and quite often the minimum already is quite a good filter to find these people. So that's what we try. We hope that we will achieve, that at least we have this attitude of giving a background check to these people. And it's not only Russia. Russia is our biggest adversary, and it's our biggest target in that sense. But there are a lot of unfriendly countries, and we can assume that a lot of these countries do the same. So at least the minimum, because most of the companies, they lack already even the minimum.
All right, one more question.
Thank you for the talk. Exactly 1 year ago, when the Ukrainian war was already going on and had been going on for some months, we had an influx of people coming from Ukraine. And we had exactly the same type of discussion about Ukrainian immigrants. Should we be hiring them, or should we be keeping from hiring them on safety and security and trust issues? Do you have any advice on this?
Again, the minimum you can do is try to check their background. Thank you for this question. I will give you this one. So this is the single issue that I brought along. Of course, what we have seen is that we had an influx of people coming over from Russia and people coming over from Ukraine. And what we did see is that people coming from Ukraine, sometimes they were approached on the borders by the special services of Russia. They tried to, because how they had to move out of the country, it might have been through Belarus, it might have been through Poland, and because we can assume the Russian special services, they have people in a number of countries. We did see a lot of people being approached by the special services on the route from Ukraine to Estonia. They might not have been working for Russian special services, but at least they established the contact. And after having established the contact, it's the opportunity to, take another step eventually. So the possibility of finding someone like that coming over from Russia is of course bigger, because nobody, well, you have to realize that a minority of people in Russia have actually the passport that enables them to travel abroad. And most of these people who get the traveling passport, they are already background checked by their services. So not everybody does get across. That means that these people who do get across from Russia to Europe are already checked by these services. But it's not the same coming from Ukraine. But of course, there is a possibility that people have been approached and eventually they will be manipulated into cooperation.
Thank you very much. Jürgen will probably be here, a little bit while again, a bit more. Thank you. And now let's get a little bit more out of the security. In that sense, let's go a little bit into the security of certified products and things like that. So we have with us a security researcher, Petr. You may know him, you may not know him, but maybe you do know him as the guy who saved Estonia. No pressure, but that's actually how it happened. So the Estonian digital ID card vulnerability, the ROCA vulnerability, was discovered by his team that he was working with, and he was also working with the Estonian CERT team to actually help us to mitigate that. So he will talk to you about security of certified products. and how to discover them, the security vulnerabilities. And so the floor is yours.
Good. So my name is Peter. Today I will talk about the tool, but you can't buy it. You can only download it from GitHub and run it for yourself. We are a team of people from Czech Republic, academic researchers mostly. And the tooling we are producing, we are first producing this for ourselves, and only later on we are, when we are happy with that, at least to some extent, we are releasing this to others in hope that it will help a little bit. So I was already here in 2018, and the title of the talk was to what changed from the last time with respect to security certification and devices, because the Estonian ID was, of course, certified, right, with common criteria. Just to get some quick check, how many of you know what the common criteria is? Raise your hand, please. 1/3, a little bit. Okay, so this is likely the biggest security certification worldwide for security devices, and the chip inside the Estonian ID was certified. So this was my last slide from 2018 when I was here, and since then, not that many things changed. Still, it's true that secret design led to delayed discovery of flaws, and we are a little bit trying to change this with our tool. So we are using the tool to get better visibility into something that is otherwise quite opaque, with all the vendors having their proprietary things, not sharing enough details, at least how we see it. Still, we need to prevent single point of failure. With a smart ID, you are actually on a very good track. You are ahead of the rest of Europe, I would say. We still need to patch and be prepared to find vulnerabilities. I still drink a beer, and open source still I like. So we can now continue. So we are from Czech Republic, Crux Laboratory at Masaryk University, and we started to work with smart cards in 2002. That was the first time. And we somehow stick with that for a long time. And the smart cards were closed already there. And they were like closed from the very beginning, basically. But we were asked by this is basically analogy of RIA here. So we were asked them to analyze the cards for them, just like to select the one that seems to be more secure. That was a difficult task, because previously we were doing some code reviews and stuff like that. But they just gave us something, and they said, maybe we will be able to get some more information, but like don't expect much, because everything is so closed. So we started to build tooling and processes to analyze these. And because everything was black box, the advantage at the end was that the tools were working with no need to get some special access to, privilege access to internal API or have some documents and so on. So we were like forced to write something that will work for ordinary end user that can like run programs. And over the time, it turns out that despite the fact that these devices are certified and the certification is not cheap, like we are talking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars, we were able to find vulnerabilities. For example, the ROCA vulnerability, the ability to take your public key and get the private one, like the cost is like a few thousand euros. Later on, we figure out another one, again, in certified product, where you can get the ECDSA private key out. We also looked at the random numbers and so on. So we just like kept finding these issues. We also stockpiled the open source implementations that allowed us to analyze this and make a proof of concept and so on. So we just kept also releasing them. And when we found the ROCA vulnerability, we were searching who is impacted, just to get some idea. Because initially we just got one card. We knew it's from Infineon, but we had no clue how widespread this issue is. So over the time, not over the time, like over the period of several months, we basically scraped various devices, asked them to generate keys and check whether the keys are vulnerable. Because the attack is somewhat expensive, several thousand euros, but checking whether the attack is possible is very cheap. Okay, so that was advantage. And we were like going all around, we figured out a lot of electronic IDs and trusted platform modules, chips, and many devices were vulnerable. But we were not using a big source of information that time, which was the common criteria certification documents that are full of interesting information. We were like, that time, we knew something like that exists, but we were like blind on that menu. So if you are not blind, we would be able to get a lot of interesting information. So you can do search on a common criteria portal, which is for common criteria certification. Somewhat analogy for US world is FIPS 140. And they, of course, have their own web page. So nowadays, if you have some product related to security, just search these web pages. You will get a lot of interesting information you otherwise can't get without signing NDA. There are a lot of products just for common criteria, more than 5,000. You can see, if you can read it, like almost 500 are from smart cards and related domain. Okay? So these certifications are expensive. So it makes sense to do it for something that is somewhat stable. And these cards are like used, the same chip is sometimes used 5, 10 years even. Good, so what you can get there? So you can just go search, you will get the PDF document, usually PDF document. And the document contains some information. For example, there are certificate numbers. So you can find some unique identification that you can later on use to search elsewhere for the references. You can, if you know how to interpret all these acronyms, you can figure out what is actually certified, how it was done, what level of scrutiny was performed, and so on. Other things like technology around, also which laboratory was responsible for testing. Because there is a vendor with a product, there is a laboratory doing the testing, and at the end you have a report if everything is going well and money are spent. You can dig deeper. You will find also things like inside one document, you will see the references to other devices. And this turns out to be very important for us because, of course, you may be dependent on something that is vulnerable, and these references are very important for you. You can see the cryptographic libraries that are used there, and many other things. If you have the document, the one thing you can do is just make a word cloud, which is nice. You will clearly see quickly that it's about common criteria, and TOE is a target of evaluation, which is the thing you are evaluating. But you can do more. TOE is very important because usually not the whole product is certified, just part of it. And that's a crucial thing because if you are using the product as a whole, but what was certified is just small subpart, then you don't really have any assurances about the rest. Okay, so that's important part. And sometimes you can read it out. It's written for humans, so you need to be human to decode. So most of you were not really hearing about the common criteria. So if you don't know what something means, just ask ChatGPT, right? And in this case, ChatGPT is giving you like decent summarization. I don't know if you can read it, but basically, you would think that the certification is about improving security of product. But if you will talk to people that are doing the certification, they will say, no, we are not claiming it's improving the security. Like, we are just claiming that we followed some procedures and that some claims were evaluated with some rigor. But we are not saying that explicitly, we are not saying it improves security. So there are some things like to allow people to compare the products, like increase the assurance and so on. If you will ask ChatGPT how well these goals are achieved, ChatGPT is like very political. Like there are some limitations, but overall, somewhat significant extent of achievement. But the issue is, definitely, the security claims are not easily verifiable by external people. So the laboratory that did that, hopefully they know, but it's hard for me as independent researcher or you as a user using that product to verify what they are claiming. Also, the comparison, these are just PDFs written by humans for humans, which is very limiting what you can do with that if you would like to automatically compare large number of products, something like this. Also, it's not clear if we are actually getting better security. And I think this is crucial. If we have some scheme which is costing a lot of money, it's mandated by usually governments and other parties, and we don't know whether it's actually increasing the security. And also, there are many steps required during these certifications, and maybe we would like to have something more agile, right? So what we shall drop? Like we can't just make everything faster magically, right? We need to drop something. And so what are these things we shall drop, right? And this shall be somehow database, not just like, oh, let's drop this requirement for penetration testing because it's taking a lot of time, okay? Good. So if you would like to imagine that mental exercise, you are now going to buy, or you already bought a product, and you would like to rerun the certification steps, the testing that happened by evaluation laboratory. So what are your options? So first of all, you need to figure out what was actually certified. For this, nowadays the typical current state is you will open the PDF, and if you are lucky, you will get the idea what's happening, right? So they will say, okay, you are buying cryptographic chip. This cryptographic chip is supposed to be withstanding attacker with the capabilities equal to national level attacker for half a year, something like this, right? Or you may figure out that some products are like you are buying the internet connected camera, but the target of evaluation is saying that this camera, the claims are valid only if the camera is not connected to internet, right? Which is somewhat confusing, so, or misleading, let's say. Then, how these claims were tested. So you like to learn what the evaluation laboratory was doing. And here, you need to trust mostly evaluation laboratory. There is a lot of proprietary knowledge, and they are also in conflict of interest because the vendors are paying them, right? So if they are too hard, maybe they will pick the different evaluation laboratory. Also, it's not enough to know how they were testing stuff. Because if they will tell you, yeah, we run a bunch of tests, and we used some tool for that. But you like to know what tool, what version, ideally having the binary, configurations, right? So otherwise you can't rerun the tests. That's important. And this is mostly lacking, almost always lacking. And also, when everything is done, certification is finished, how the product is monitored for security, how the vulnerabilities are reported, and so on. And you learned this hard way, right? So you were not notified on time. Okay, so that was clearly an issue here. So based on all this, experience, we started the Sectors project. The vulnerability, the Roca vulnerability in 2017, we were not using common criteria certification database at all, which was our fault, but that was the case. In 2019, when we found another backend chip, we started to use it, but only manually. We were just opening PDFs and working with that. So in 2020, we had the idea, let's write automated tool just for us, like automating these manual things. It will be basically 2 weeks of work. This is usually a problem, right? So we, as the developers, we are bad in estimating the workload. So we started to do this not because it's easy, but because we thought it will be easy. So 3 years after, or 4 years after, we are still working on it. It's way bigger than we initially thought, multiple people involved. But the good thing is we can also have some academic accolade from that. The tool is open source. That's important. So you can go and take it and run it, and you can run it yourself locally with your data. You're not leaking anything to us. So how does it work? So here you have a vendor which is having some product which vendor hopes to be certified. There is usually several rounds with evaluation laboratories, and when the evaluation laboratory is happy, they will say, okay, now everything was tested. Here is we are happy with that, and you may get certificate now. So some national certificate authorization scheme will give you the certificate, and you will end up with the certificate somewhere. With common criteria, which is mostly used in Europe, you will end on their website. With US, with NIST, you will end there. Both these are having some portal. You can get the documents there. So, and this is our starting point, because these portals are full of interesting documents, mostly PDFs. Over the time, we started to add other things from other web pages, but this is a most important source. So this is where the SecCert tool is feeding itself on. You can go to GitHub and get the whole repository with everything there. So what you can start doing. If you are a geek, you will go for lower level API. It's written in Python, so you will start to fiddle with that. If you just like to play a little bit with that, maybe go to seccerts.org webpage. You will see part of the things that can be done there, and it's just like clicking around. Our goal is to take the fact that there are a lot of interesting information buried inside these documents. I just expose them and let the people capability to analyze the way they need and they see. So we are also extracting some raw data, and we are providing some analysis based on what is of interest to us as well. After some time, we added additional big database, which is the well-known NVD database with all these CVE vulnerability IDs. These are from NVD database. And we started to automatically pair items here, the certified items, with the vulnerabilities. And the important part is pairing is automatic. Therefore, we can process a large number of items. And as a result, we can get some decent statistics about whether this is actually increasing the security or it's not like correlated with the increase in the security. So I will show you some examples. So first thing you can extract from documents are the references. So your Estonian ID is using some Java card platform. This is referencing some hardware chip below it. So you will see some connections. And you can just start drawing these connections. This is just a small example, small graph of connections. If you will draw all the connections and all the items from the common criteria portal, you will get very, very large graph. Okay, so I will try to explain what you see. So first of all, there are like more than 5,000 items. That's one thing. Second thing you will see here is that the large fraction are here alone, which means the documents, the certified items are not referencing anything else. They're just like, let's say, standalone. Okay? But there is a large, big graph subcomponent where the items are pretty cross-related. Okay, so we are seeing both extremes, extremely connected items and very alone items. Also, the yellow means the product is already inactive. So, but this does not mean, and one Jürgen was already talking about this, it does not mean that it's not used, right? It's just that the certificate is invalid. Green means it's still active. Icons based on category. And if you will see the red dot, which you mostly can't see likely, this means we were able to find vulnerability related to that product, one or more. If you are interested in only one particular item, you just need to know the name. In this case, I just intentionally picked the chip that was with the vulnerable RSA key generation. so the Roca vulnerability, and you will just visit it, and you will see already extracted and pre-processed information. So you don't need to read the PDF, you are served better. And you are also served with connections to vulnerability databases, so you can get the information there. If you are really into certification and you know how to interpret acronyms, you can get a deeper understanding how exactly this was certified. Most of you, and honestly, I was not like super excited by the fact that we can like read out these small things because I need to learn all these acronyms. But if you are interested, now you have it, and it's in a JSON, not in a PDF. Also, if there are some vulnerabilities, you can get it, and you are seeing the position in a graph. And now we are getting closer to the situation where you are the security researcher, or you are someone responsible for assessing security of particular products you have. Then more likely something that is related to your product is more likely to be hit by the vulnerability that is hitting your product, or you are being hit by the vulnerability which is dependent, which is inside the product you are dependent on. Okay? So these graphs are actually very helpful to spot the issues and see what to look for. So some insights into common criteria ecosystem overall. We were not really hearing much about common criteria, but this is still going up with respect to number of devices that are certified. It's very expensive, yet it's still going up. So you can see clearly the trends. Smart cards and related things are still the biggest category, but other categories are going up as well. Another interesting thing you might ask is, what about the evolution of security over the time with respect to claim level of rigor of testing? Okay, so there are some levels starting from 1, ending with 7. More is better. So we basically processed all the certificates and figure out only these, and extracted these, let's say, average security level. And you can see that this orange one is for smart cards, and these are smart cards category, and this is just going up. Slowly, but it's going up. Everything else is keeping around this. Okay, so it seems that smart card industry wants to push, other domains not that much.
Excuse me.
Yep.
You might say what is EAL?
Okay, so this is evaluation level of scrutiny. Basically, for EL1, it's basically self-certification. You will just claim that you are following some good practice, and that's it. Up you are going. EL7 means you need to formally show that you are following, so you need to have some formal design. Actually, you don't need to formally prove it in a sense of like computer science, that you are like have formal proof for your code doing the right thing. Just the formal definition of design. Okay, and there are like for every level you have predefined things you need to show to evaluation laboratories. Also, you might be interested who is certifying things. In Europe, mostly France and Germany. So these two are the biggest ones. They are taken out of a graph. But then one big newcomer are the Netherlands, right? So they are, since 2017, they are like quickly going up with respect to number of certified devices. Another insight you can get is how the countries are cooperating. Okay, so if someone is certifying device, how frequently they will be dependent on other certified devices. And based on that, you can see that basically Germany is just having dependency on their own devices with very few exceptions. Other countries as well. Only exception is France. And the France is like 1/3. They are dependent on German certificates. Otherwise, not that much cooperation. So now, that was like some overall insight into the ecosystem. Now I will try to recreate things that happened here in 2017 in June, I guess. Okay, so this Austrian report, how many of you heard about Austrian report 1634/84? Yeah, okay. So that report is public. Now, it was not public. I think it's public thanks to Estonia. They just put it on some webpage because you can't find it elsewhere. This report was circulated because of IDAS, which is the agreement to recognize digital signatures among the European countries. But within this agreement, there is also need to share if something will go wrong. So the other countries are warned. And there was an Austrian report in June 2017, that time not public. And this is the snapshot of that. And it sounds like serious, like qualified trust service provider, which is someone dealing with the digital signatures in Austria, revoked all qualified certified issued prior to June 2017. Okay, so that sounds serious. And this was circulated around the Europe, to Czech government as well as to Estonian one. So the question is this enough to realize that your ID is vulnerable? Okay, and it seems that at that time it was not enough. So let's try to recreate this with the tooling and processes we have nowadays. Of course, it's easier when you know the truth, right? So it's way harder when you are just presented with this. But you can start to see, you can read that there is some weakness in asymmetric crypto library. There are two particular certified devices named. You can just take them, and these are literally the names of the certificates, so you can go and take it. You can check whether these are the Estonian ones. And you will clearly see that it's not possible because Estonian one is written in French, sorry. But like also the certificate ID was different, so it was like seemingly unrelated. Another thing you can do is just search for the certificate ID to get the unique identifier and just try to search a little bit more. You can also look what they are actually saying, like weaknesses of asymmetric crypto, ECDSA is not impacted, RSA is, only the signature is not an issue, and so on. Like there were some hints, but very subtle ones. If you have the tooling, you can just run this tool, and these big red ones are the ones directly named in this Austrian report. Okay? You can go and search the graph of references and figure out that, okay, they are also referencing something else, and that something else is the underlying hardware. So you can then look what this underlying hardware is, and you will figure out that both are Infineon Security Controller. Okay? You may look into Estonian certification document again, and you will see, okay, we are not using this one. Okay? That was kind of trap, because Infineon, of course, they are doing a lot of different chips. So you had the different chip. What you had in common was the cryptographic library there. And this turns out to be an issue because this same library with the same vulnerable way how to generate keys was replicated all over. And if you were looking at this, or you knew that you shall look at this, the very last reference in Estonian certificate is indeed this library. Okay, so there were some subtle clues, but subtle, right? If you will have a tooling, you can draw all the certificates that were either directly or indirectly referencing these named in this Austrian report. Okay? And you will end up with a graph like this, and you will say, okay, this is not really relevant to us because our certificate was from 2013 and it's not covered by this. But if you will search for the keyword with the vulnerable RSA library, you will indeed figure out that your Estonian certificate is there. Okay, so again, better tooling might help at that point. Nowadays, you can just go to our webpage. You will see this graph, and you can just set the list of IDs you are interested in, and you will see the graph components, and then you can reason how close you are. For example, what was named in Austrian report is the cluster here. The blue ones are the ones that are like directly related to Austrian report. Estonian cluster is here, so pretty far away. The problem and the trap was that the library was replicated over so many different Infineon chips. that usually the center of these clusters, these are some underlying smart cards, either from an XP or Infineon, with the same library. So that was a thing that made it difficult to figure out what was going on. Good. Nowadays, it's good because the vulnerability is public. We have CVE, so if nowadays you are searching for that, you can just go and you are directly notified. What you can also do proactively for the future vulnerabilities, you have some device. You have the certificate. You will figure out the certification ID for that. You will look and you will say, okay, mine is this red one. What are the other devices I'm directly or indirectly dependent on? And then just like watch them as well, because they might hurt you if you are using the particular underlying hardware, and if there is vulnerability, of course, your device will be vulnerable as well. Or like, not of course, but it might be. So it's worth of human investigation. I touched the thing that we have the vulnerability database and we have the certified products, and we are putting them together. So this allows us to answer the question whether the certification is improving or not the actual security of products. Because, say, intuitive expectation would be if the certification is working and improving the security, we shall see less and especially less severe vulnerabilities for certified product. Okay, so that's like natural expectation. So we have certified products. We are able to pair them automatically with something called CPE, which is just identifier within this vulnerability database of some platform, your chip, your firewall, your printer. And within that vulnerability database, you already have a pairing done by NIST between or like community plus some moderation between the platforms and the vulnerabilities. And if we have this, we can just run the, say, statistical analysis on top of that. We will get some table. Don't try to read really the numbers. This is just a fancy way how to say whether two events you are observing are correlated together or not. And the green means they are significantly correlated. Okay? And what you are seeing here is we are comparing whether group of products with a low level, when compared to the group of products with a higher level, whether we see less and especially less severe vulnerabilities. Okay? So it seems that this is true for the basic level, and we can go more fine-grained because there are like requirements with respect to security of development, security of testing, monitoring of vulnerabilities later on, and so on. Okay? So we can look more into these fine-grained things. And this is especially important if we are going to cut some requirements, because we likely want to cut these that are not like bringing much with respect to security. And the last part, so far, I was showing how we are analyzing already existing data and already existing trove of information. But we like to push it a bit forward, like to be activists. Okay? So what we are definitely missing are more information from the evaluation laboratories, which are performing the testing, but are not saying how exactly they are doing that, and we just need to trust them. We can't replicate, we can't verify. So we like to change that. So we already have the database of certified items. We already paired vulnerability database on top of that, but we can do more. We can just keep using our or yours or all the open tools. We can run them on some of the certified devices. We can collect the results. We can collect maybe power consumption traces or results of random number testing or results for RSA key generation, stuff like that. And we can then take this metadata, sign them to show that like here in Masaryk University laboratory, we did the testing, or here RIA did the testing, and we can make this public. So the people can later on come and get this data and replicate for themselves. So that's the goal. This is not live yet. We have it just local. But the goal is to add additional metadata that people can verify later on themselves. So I'll just like to leave you with the fact that certification documents are trove of interesting information, and you can get it without NDA, which is a big win. The tool itself is open source, so you can get it, you can use it locally, you don't need to use web page, but it's easy to use. But you can build the web page yourself and run it locally. This way, you can do ecosystem-wide insights that were not possible before because it was not automatically processable. So we went through the big pain of making stuff automatically processable. And now you can use it for vulnerability analysis. So next time we will find something that looks like a vulnerability and we like to map the impact. We have a tool that will speed up identification of products and identification of laboratories, vendors we shall responsibly disclose to. Current certificates are written primarily for humans, and we hope we can change that. We can change that for already existing certificates, but we are hoping to influence also the future schemes like European Common Criteria version. Let's hope for that. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The question part of this will have to stay one-on-one after we get off this stage. Just one question as a presenter. I'll ask one question. With the Estonian ID card question, it was a bigger issue that maybe the producer was cutting corners in terms of what they were doing with this particular chip. I understand that you're looking in general about how certified products and security certified products is changing. Do you see producers of chips or some certified products, are they still cutting corners?
We don't know if they are cutting corners unless or until a vulnerability is found. That's first thing. But I would say that if Infineon in this case would be open about the way how they are generating keys, someone would find the vulnerability way earlier than us, after more than 10 years. In use. So that was the issue, because once we said, okay, there is this vulnerability, people were able to recreate this in 2 weeks. And they were like giving this as a task for students, and students were able to spot some decrease in entropy of the keys. So it's like the fact that it was so closed was harming the security at the end.
So thank you very much right now. And again, you'll be able to ask him and the other team questions as well. This is for you. Thank you very much. Big applause. Before we let you loose on the snack table, just one more thing. We at RIA were going to be making an international hacking camp for girls. Tina is going to tell you a couple of things why we're doing this, but the question is basically, if you have friends who have daughters, who have friends who are girls, then this is something that we invite you to invite them to sign up, because this is something that's important to us. But Tina, go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Tina, and I'm trying to be really short, but still give you all the important information. So maybe first I will talk a little bit about background. Why are we doing this? Why this target group? And what are we going to solve with this? So basically, as Jürgen mentioned already before, ICT sector, cybersecurity sector needs more people. We are like lack of skills, and we see that this number of people who is needed, but they aren't there with cybersecurity skills, is growing. And there is one really big potential, because if we look around in this room and in workforce in general, You know the end of the sentence, I assume. So we see lots of male, but not so many female workers. And this is really big potential, because if we bring more women and girls to work for cybersecurity, the total number can grow. And what we see and where we can do it and how to do it is that if you look in the data in the middle school, the STEM skills for girls and boys is not significantly different. So the girls are just as good in math, just as good in computer science, just as good in physics and chemistry, all the STEM areas. But at the same time, they don't feel like ICT is for them. Computer science doesn't speak to them. They don't know about it as much. They see it as computer games, and it just doesn't feel right for them. So we want to show girls that cybersecurity can be for them. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, we had one-day camp for girls, and at the end of the camp, some of the girls said, I started to think about that it might be for me. And they were really interested. It was hand-on training, and they were really interested about it. So now we want to do it a week-long cybersecurity camp. So it will be in August in Kehtna. The trainers will be also the teachers of Kehtna Vocational School, so some of you already know them. They're really experienced, and they have prepared our teams for our cybersecurity competitions already. So yeah, this is for girls, aged 30 and 60, and they don't have to know about programming, cybersecurity beforehand. So it's really beginners. And we're expecting participants from Estonia and from Czech Republic and from all other member states as well. So if, for example, you know one teacher who wants to come with a group of participants from other member states, let them know about this camp as well. And there will be cybersecurity and lots of fun activities. So it's going to be an awesome week, and just let people who might be interested about it know. And you can get more information from that link, or just write me and I will send you more information. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to wrap up today and talk to you about, just a heads up, we're going to have a meetup again in June, and then we're going to have a summer pause, because nobody does cybersecurity or incidents in the summer, right? Like nothing happens. And so we've talked to the new incoming, the Estonian Police Cybercrime Unit head, Ago Ambur, about him talking about the cyber threat landscape to us on June 8th. And we're going to be talking about two cybersecurity accelerator programs for startups, spin-offs, new teams, new products. One is the NATO Diana, which is going to be somewhat cybersecurity related, not too much, but somewhat. And then we are going to come out with our own cybersecurity startup accelerator program by RIA, co-funded by the European Union, and we're going to talk about that one as well. So you are all welcome on June 8th, same place, same time, 6 to 7, and then 7 to 8 with the networking part. With that, thank you very much. Thank you everybody who are watching at home, and enjoy your night.